Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Michael J.
This guy, Dmitry Budakov, first two-time MOCS champion. Is that right?
I believe so.
And, go ahead.
No, just heck of a weekend, too. I mean, this is, one of the biggest tournaments of the year, and definitely an exciting one to watch.
So, Budakov, rather than going in either of the fantastic 4-drop directions that we've been thinking about for Modern the past couple of weeks with those unbanning announcements, echo of the last big Grand Prix here with Boggles.
Yeah, I mean, Boggles has a long and sordid history in the various 24-person and 23-person tournaments. Like when the field is small enough, if you pick your spots, and here we see another big finish from the Boggles archetype, and honestly, both Bloodbraid Elf and Jace the Mind Sculptor have been a little slow to get going. Not just here, but in other there's been some showings here and there, but for their power level, I don't know that anybody's cracked the code exactly perfect yet.
Oh, that's all right.
What do you think? Yeah, what do you think of this take on Boggles? Fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I actually like the Boggles positioning here. I like it a lot, right? So if you're going to start with this idea that, well, first of all, it was a performing deck prior to the unban, right? So if all other things are held equal, all right, here's a deck. It's pretty good. But it just, at least in theory, does things that are pretty good against decks that would want to play Jace the Mind Sculptor and or Bloodbraid Elf, right? So if you've got hexproof creatures, that's really good against the spot removal that often accompanies Bloodbraid Elf. It's certainly good against the unsummon ability on Jace. Also, this is a great racing deck, right? Whether you've got Griff's Boon to go to the air or just Rancor to trample or, whatever is going to just make your, Elf Scout or Core Wizard or Beast or whatever big. It's just a great racing deck. And when it's so difficult to deal with those creatures with spot removal because of the hexproof, just puts you in, I think, in a really good position.
Yeah, particularly when you've got Leyline of the Sanctity protecting you from Liliana.
Oh, yeah. So 4 Leyline of Sanctity is an upgrade in that spot that you can't really play any more copies than 4. And it's not just good against, the Fate Seal ability on Jace, right? It's not just good if, somebody can't hexproof, lightning bolt your guy. They now can't lightning bolt you either. But I think it's also this kind of next level-ish play where it could be good against decks that are good against Jace and or Bloodbraid Elf decks.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty interesting configuration, just starting with the 4 Leylines main deck. And notably, it can be easy to get lost in the shuffle. But if you take a look up and down this creature up and down this aura package, where's the lifelink?
I mean, there's Spirit Link in the sideboard, 1 copy in the sideboard.
Yeah. I mean, we never see that, right? Like, normally there's just 4 Spirit Links and maybe 1 Spirit Loop. Here we have a list with not a single main deck lifelink card, right? I mean, that's kind of interesting. That's a little bit of a departure from this sort of industry standard. And then to just be main decking the 4 Leyline of Sanctities, I like the main deck Leyline, and I find the lack of main deck lifelink to be kind of interesting. Well, not totally sure what to make of that.
Leyline of Sanctity, I mean, it depends who your opponent is, right? Like, lifelink is good against any sort of racing situation, versus Leyline of Sanctity is good in much more particular situations. But it kind of serves a similar purpose in some matchups, right? So if Leyline of Sanctity is going to turn off the face burn of a red deck, That's similar to the life gain that you'd be getting in a Spirit Link main deck.
Sure. And then I still like a couple copies of Spirit Mantle as an additional form of evasion. You know, like having a mix of Griff's Boon, Spirit Mantle, and obviously Rancor is just the most efficient. But like,
I love Rancor.
But once you have your 4 copies of Rancor, you want to make sure you draw at least one of these, right? And And to be fair, I guess even though we normally see like 4 Spirit Links and a Spirit Loop or any of that kind of stuff, there's still Daybreak Coronet. So like at least there's something. But Daybreak Coronet's usually the that's the sort of all-in package. That's the big haymaker that's going to be unreal good for you anyway every time you draw it.
Yeah, I feel like Daybreak Coronet just turns anybody into like a Primeval Titan, right? Like that's like now I've got a 6 casting cost worthy card smashing you. It has so many different kinds of text on it.
Mm-hmm. So what was your favorite deck of the weekend?
I have a very specific answer to that, but I actually don't want to move off of Boggles just yet, if that's okay.
No problem.
Here's a question. Has Boggles at this point, with more or less back-to-back big important modern tournament finishes, after a long lull, right? Like, this was not a deck that was super on the radar for the 6 months or a year before that, right? We were talking a lot about Eldrazi aggro, or humans, or storm decks, right? Has Boggles graduated from a good metagame deck to a good deck?
I don't know how you draw the line of such a thing. So, I don't know what a good deck is.
Well, Kai's definition was there's no such thing as a good rogue deck, because the second a good rogue deck is recognized to be good, it's just part of the metagame. So I don't know. People, I always felt like people just never thought Boggles was a great deck. They just thought it was a great deck against the decks people were going to play. But maybe that makes it a great deck, right? That's how I choose decks a lot of the time.
I know you don't super want to be playing Boggles if your opponent's playing Lantern, right? And I'm not 100% into playing against any of the various Tron decks.
Well, so Leyline of Sanctity is helpful in the main deck.
No question.
Against Lantern. It's obviously, it'll help a lot if you know their Lantern, right? For mulligan decisions and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess you're super pinned to Tron's Busto, like turn 3 Tron draws for sure. But I think Gaddock Teague out of the sideboard probably gives you some play there. That it'll at least take the edge off of their super big bigs.
Well, yeah. Well, whenever you're ready to move off these, I couldn't help but notice the rest of the top 4 very Bloodbraid Elf, Jace the Mind Sculptor centric.
But you asked what my favorite deck was, and
is it not even in the top 4?
Well, your very good friend and Pro Tour Hall of Famer Josh Utter-Leyton came with. I looked at this deck list. I looked at it a second time, and then I was just like, "What?" One Eidolon to the Great Revel, and I was just like, "That can't possibly be right." This is like the string of thoughts that are going on in my head. That can't possibly be right. Oh wait, it's Raptor. What the hell are those? And I looked at the Bedlam Revelers, and I looked at the Manamorphose, and I was just like, this isn't Kansas anymore. I'm no longer an expert on this topic. I have to step away, maybe revisit what's going on here, because this is different. It's probably really good, and it is not what it is different, and it's. Did I mention it's probably pretty good?
At the very least, it sure is exotic. As far as burn decks go, Josh has been kind of in the camp of just all decks should be 4 Manamorphose decks. So that's kind of interesting. And then Bedlam Reveler, though, is definitely a hot take. By the way, Manamorphose, my favorite part about Manamorphose, I guess there's 2. My 2 favorite parts, One is the core Firewalker splash being a little bit more realistic. And two, when you just hit him out of nowhere with the Ancient Grudge or Destructive Revelry with no green mana showing.
Wow, so there is so much to talk about here in this list, right? So just one thing that I just pull back every single time I want to talk about a red deck that I made, or I made top whatever with. Patrick, I think, will rightly say that's the most boring red deck I've ever seen, right? This deck is not boring. My goodness, right? So Manamorphose, enabling the things that you were talking about just a second ago. I think it's deceptively great with Monastery Swiftspear, right? So you open up on Swiftspears. It's just like a freebie on turn 2, no matter what play you're making. Interestingly, the de-emphasis on Eidolon of the Great Revel, it's so internally consistent, right? Like,
yep.
Well, if I'm a Manamorphose deck, why would I also be an Eidolon deck? Like, well, maybe you should be an Eidolon deck out of sideboarding. I don't know, but it's Raptor. He probably thought about this, right? And the ability to enable Bedlam Reveler, although I think 3 Bedlam Revelers is aggressive.
Love it. Love it. Because you know who Bedlam Reveler is good against? Are all these Bloodbraid Elf and Jace the Mind Sculptor decks. If you've got to be grinding against somebody, if you're playing fair, Bedlam Reveler, that's the way to do it. Now, the thing I particularly like about Manamorphose in this list is that it's not like the Lava Spike deck. It's all Lava Spikes all the way down. Right? Like, you can play your Lava Spikes and your Lightning Bolts and your Rift Bolts and Boros Charm and all those good, all that good stuff. But eventually you start getting down into the, like, Shard Valley.
I have never Shard Volleyed in my life. I have a 20th land.
I'm just saying that with not having to play, Raptor's got 20 land also, and he's got the 4 Manamorphose. I'm just saying, even after changing those extra Eidolons into Bedlam Revelers, you don't have to play any main deck Searing Bloods. You don't have to do any of that kind of stuff. You don't have to, like, main deck Atarka's Command as, like, a 3rd color or something. You don't have to have the, like, 1 stray Grim Lavamancer in the main just because you don't have enough good cards. 4 Manamorphose just means you'll draw your Lightning Bolts and your Boros Charms more often.
Yeah, he's not cracking the skull, though. That's the thing. There's no skull crack anywhere.
Yeah, but so what? No skull crack and no Atarka's Command. None of it. He's just, like, he wants to be grinding. He doesn't want to be, like, taking his time to, like, counteract life gain.
Yeah, he's like some weirdo who thinks that the red cards are actually good. That's,
Well, it helps that he's only playing the good ones.
Yeah, well, it's a different take. So I did want to talk about this Destructive Revelry Ancient Grudge portion. So people ask me a lot about Destructive Revelry. And I've been on the 4 Inspiring Vantage, don't play green for a long time. Pretty much as long as they've had Inspiring Vantage available. But the thing, I could get it. Sometimes you want to play Destructive Revelry. I get it. At a Pro Tour, I think I'd probably play Destructive Revelry, I don't typically play it at amateur level events. But at a Pro Tour, I probably would. But what I don't get ever is people who are, like, playing a Stomping Ground, if not 2 Stomping Grounds, and have got 3 Destructive Revelries, and that's all they're green.
No, right? 2 Ancient Grudges.
No. That's my point, Patrick. If I'm going to play the Stomping Ground, or even 2 Stomping Grounds, I'm going to play 4 Destructive Revelries, right? Raptor's got 3 Destructive Revelries and 2 Ancient Grudges, right? That's 5 slots. What I'm saying is there's a ton of decks out there. If you looked at the Pro Tour decks, they're like, they have the green splash for 3 Destructive Revelry total, and I just can't get my head around that. This is above and beyond the normal Destructive Revelry splash.
Yeah. Also, for what it's worth, I do think the Manamorphose really tips the needle in favor of splashing green. Oh,
sure. Yeah, it's a different deck, right? And you're right, the double white on core Firewalker is so much easier. I don't know. I think this deck is, I haven't tested it yet, but this deck is not the boringest red deck. It is a different thing entirely. When I won that PPTQ with Burn last summer, I beat Bedlam Reveler Burn deck in the finals, but his deck was like mono red. Just a lot of enablers and stuff. And he thought he had an advantage because his mana number hurt him. But I, of course, had the advantage because I had all the white cards, right? The white cards are actually very helpful in the symmetrical matchup. So here we have a situation where you have access to the Bedlam. The Bedlam Reveler is great here, right? It just draws you 9 points of damage, probably. You're like, oh, here's 9.
Yeah. No, I mean, Bedlam Reveler, I still think Bedlam Reveler is just an underrated card in the format in general. I mean, it's like a Tassiger, but you also Ancestral Recall.
Yeah, I think that it was probably an underrated card at some point, but I think at this point, right, with Jerry's finish, with Viren's finish, still underrated.
Still not enough. Still underrated. Yep. For instance, I mean, the Grixis decks aren't all playing it. Nassif's, Blue Moon deck didn't have any.
All right. Well, I guess in the words of John Samuel Finkel, the Beatles can both be considered the number one band and be underrated at the same time.
Yeah. Although, honestly, I think it's still just Jace the Mind Sculptor that's underrated. My pick for Jace, my favorite Jace the Mind Sculptor deck. It's not exactly pretty to look at. But, Guillaume Matillon's Bant Control deck is definitely, there's some style. This is a green creature deck with Wrath of God, Supreme Verdict, lots of Jace the Mind Sculptors, Search for Azcanta, Nissa Vastwood Seer, a bunch of Time Warps, Explore. What do you think of the 2 Explore, 3 Time Warp split?
Well, I don't know why they're on opposite ends of the...
Or the even just there's 2 Remand, 2 Explore, right?
And a Search for Azcanta.
Well, that's part of the Jace skull. It's 3 Jace, 1 Search, right? You have to balance these things.
All right, so
2 Courser of Prefix, 2 Nissa Vastwood Seer.
Well, so Sakura Tribelder is clearly superior to Explore, right? Right, so he's got 4 of that. I think that's where... I think the Explorer are more the redundancies against Sakura Tribelder than they are in opposition to anything else.
Sure.
At the Wrath of God Supreme Verdict split is odd to me.
Love it. It's because of all the meddling mages in the humans decks.
I got you.
That's it? Yeah, I'm not...
I got you. I know, it still seems kind of odd.
Oh, it's definitely odd.
You're like a human sec, and you play Meddling Mage. You get your opponent's second turn Sakura Tribelder. You're second turn Meddling Mage. Sakura Tribelder, huh? We're going with Wrath of God. That's just not going to happen, right? They're going to name something more intuitive, but it's probably not in this deck. They might name Explore. They might name...
No, it's after sideboarding, and they're definitely going to name Supreme Verdict.
All right.
Hey, dude. So what do you think of the choice of Emrakuls?
Well, this Emrakul, the 13 casting cost Emrakul, is easier to cast, right? There's no cheater ways here, right? He doesn't have any big cheats that he can get the other Emrakul, right? If he had Nahiri or something, right? Maybe the other Emrakul, but I think this is a pretty intuitive Emrakul. He has a lot of things that can...
Pretty intuitive? How many people play Emrakul in this format?
Okay. If given the choice of Emrakuls, you're saying, choice of Emrakuls, this is the intuitive Emrakul given his sorceries and instants. I think so, yes.
Yeah, but what? But isn't the more intuitive thing to cut one of these other planeswalkers for Nahiri or something?
Oh, well,
I don't know, man.
This deck is another color.
Dude, this deck is dope. So what do you think of 3 Cryptic Command, 1 Sphinx's Rev? Is that the natural split?
I think I would want a Sphinx's Rev. I actually would rather say, what do I think about the 3 Cryptic Command, 1 Bant Charm? Right? Bant Charm is the most flexible card, but none of the modes are that good, right? Cryptic Command is just always good.
Well, part of it is...
everybody.
part of it is the curve, right? With 3 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 3 Cryptic Command, 1 Wrath of God, 1 Supreme Verdict. This is, I mean, a lot of decks will do this, but this is that just playing 8 4-cost cards, not wanting to be overly glutted. And that's remarkably restrained considering this is a deck with 4 Sakura Treba Elders and 2 Explorers. But part of that is that with Time Warp being a virtual 5 and the ability to play a 3 and a 2 on turn 4, even when you're accelerating, there's actually a fair bit of curve considerations going on here. But, dude, I don't know. I don't know how long I can keep this act up. This deck looks... I don't know. Is this like a real deck?
I mean, I'm staring at the 1 Rox Warmonk, 1 Obstinate Baloth, 1 Wormcoil Engine split right now.
And 1 Teferi.
Oh, yeah, but the Teferi's in a different pile to me, right? The Rox Warmonk, Obstinate Baloth, and Wormcoil Engine are the Life Gain brothers, right? Like, the Teferi is... I mean, I presume you bring the Teferi in against blue decks or black decks, but the Rox Warmonk and the Obstinate Baloth...
And combo decks.
Sure.
Dude, don't you love the Day of Judgment in the sideboard to keep the Wrath of God Supreme Verdict split? Just, like, don't want to let them get any money out of their Meddling Mage.
I mean, the Day of Judgment, Wrath of God, been done before. Not surprising. So I get it. I mean, I don't understand a creature deck with Porphyry Nodes that much. Like,
No. Porphyry Nodes is actually really good. Porphyry Nodes is important technology twofold. First, obviously, against Geist of St. Traft. And second of all, against just humans, because you need to have some interaction that costs less than 4. Yeah, I actually like the Porphyry Nodes part.
Yeah, but he's a deck that has so many creatures.
He doesn't really have that many creatures. It's not like the Porphyry Nodes is hitting Sakura Treba Elder. And if it hits Snapcaster Mage, the Snapcaster already got its money. It's not usually Emrakul that goes down with the nodes. And that leaves us with Nissa and Courser. And I think the Nissa is coming out against humans.
Yeah, when you're a big Nissa player in Standard, you never just...
Always.
You never just, like, Nissa to trade? Is it just too slow in Modern?
No, I would Nissa to trade. It just depends. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just like Path to Exile with Nissa.
Oh, yeah.
That's there we go.
All the lands. Gimme.
No. But also just that if your opponent kills the Nissa, you can respond by pathing your Snapcaster Mage. And then you flip Nissa.
Yeah.
That's just dope.
That's true.
At instant speed. That's just, I don't know. That seems sweet.
I like it. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm in. Yeah, but what do you... Rox Warmonk, I feel like that guy should either be...
That's old school.
Really good or not played at all.
I agree with that.
Like... I feel like he's real old school, as in
I don't think it's particularly close between those two sides, though.
No, he's not in the middle.
So we've been seeing a lot of Mantis Rider out of these human decks. What do you think of Vincent Lamont's Mantis Rider Zoo deck, complete with Bloodbraid Elf?
I kind of love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean. So, like, what if you're just, like, trade the first 3 turns, and then you go Bloodbraid Elf Mantis Rider in for 6? That's, like, so heavy, right?
Well, also, if you just go turn 1 Noble Hierarch, turn 2 Mantis Rider, turn 3 Bloodbraid Elf, you are doing it.
The other thing is playing that distribute, adding a Jeskai colored creature to like a green-red creature deck, basically.
With Forest.
Yeah, like it just gives you a good excuse to play Tribal Flames. I mean, like, and there's a Godless Shrine in this deck.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's also got the sideboard 3 Thoughtseize and 3 Lingering Souls.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Tribal Flames is so heavy. Like, the thing about this deck is just like, if you're not playing Burn, this deck is like Destructo. It's like every single card is so meaningful. Boros Charm 4, Tribal Flames potentially 5, Bloodbraid Elf Mantis Rider combo is like 6. Like, Tarmogoyf is 4 or 5 or better in this deck typically, right?
Well, I don't know about 5 or better. I mean, this deck has no artifacts, enchantments, or planeswalkers.
Yeah, but
this deck is 4 when everything's firing on all cylinders. Tarmogoyf hits for 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5 or better.
Okay.
Right. So, and then he's got like the most annoying sideboard cards, right? Like nobody wants. Yeah, Blessed Alliance is the most annoying sideboard card.
I don't know, man. That's the one I had my eye on.
Really?
But Destructive Revelry, Lingering Souls, Molten Rain, Thoughtseize, Grim Lavamancer. I agree with you on all those. But why is Blessed Alliance the most annoying sideboard card?
You're talking to somebody who's played Lava Spike since they printed Lava Spike, and you're asking why Blessed Alliance is the most annoying sideboard card.
It gains 4 life.
Yeah, it certainly does. That's horrible for us. But it does other things, right? So Blessed Alliance can potentially, get rid of a gigantic Boggle, right? That's a possible thing that happens.
Yeah. Dude, what do you think of Nassif switching it? After playing 4 Spreading Seas and 4 Field of Ruin in his blue-white control deck, now that he's on Blue Moon, he's down to 1 Spreading Seas.
Well, one might ask why it's not just the 3rd Blood Moon.
I assume because of drawing a card.
And being a mana less, right?
Well, and changing a land that he's targeting with this aura into an island instead of its usual type.
Yeah. And one might still come back and ask why it's not a 3rd Blood Moon.
Dude, and no Field of Ruins. I just appreciate the metagame call. I think this is one of those deals where it's like, yeah, nobody's going to play Tron. You don't just go to MOCS to play Tron. What? Come on, man.
So, Gabriel Nassif plays... This is like a pretty straightforward Blue Moon deck, right? 3 Jace Sculptor.
Outside of the anti... not having the land destruction package.
I mean, it's like 1 Wormcoil, 1 Young Pyromancer, a Roast. I guess Roast is pretty commonly played in this color combo.
Yeah, it's, people play it sometimes.
3 Cryptics. What's with the 3 Cryptics?
Curve considerations. Jace the Mind Sculptor.
All right. 4 man.
3 Jace, 3 Cryptic. It's just, it's the natural split.
Yeah? If you were in this tournament, how many of each would you have played?
Well, I'm not going to play a Glimmer of Genius.
How many would you have played?
I don't know, but I'm not going to play a Glimmer of Genius.
I know you're not.
How are you playing a Glimmer of... Dude, don't get me wrong. Nassif's one of the coldest who ever did it. Literally one of the coldest who ever did it. But how can you just be playing a Glimmer of Genius alongside 3 Cryptic Commands?
2 energy, my friend. 2 energy. I love he's just like playing 4 Serum Visions, 4 Opt. No big deal. Don't care. I love it. 22 lands. With all
four Serum,
love it.
4 Opt, 4 Serum Visions just makes a lot of sense. That's actually just good.
Yeah, I love it. With his 22 lands and his 6 drops. It's fantastic.
Yep.
It's way better than the Glimmer of Genius for drawing.
Well, you got Jace the Mind Sculptor to hit your land drops.
Yeah, Spreading Seas helps out. I like this deck. It seems pretty exciting. I mean, what do you think about the Abrade? That one's kind of loose.
No, it's okay. It is a little loose, but when you play these blue-red decks, you've only got 45 good cards. So you got to play some loosey-gooseys, right? This is just he's got. For instance, here we see we got 1 Wormcoil, 1 Young Pyromancer, 1 Spreading Seas, 1 Roast, 1 Spell Snare, 1 Abrade, 1 Glimmer Genius, 1 Spell Pierce. You just got all kinds of stuff.
So when you say use 45 good cards, you mean there are 45 available spells that he could potentially play that are playable?
No. I'm saying that the first 45 cards you put in this deck are actually not too bad. But you gotta, it gets a little lean fleshing out the last 15. And, I mean, it's all fun and games when you're playing Lightning Bolt, but what's your other interaction? You got to play with something if you're going to play blue-red, and that's why he's got 1 Roast, 1 Abrade, 2 Electrolyze. He's just trying to play some other cards. So I just think it's interesting playing with 0 Anger of the Gods and 0 Sweltering, so any of that stuff, you know?
Well, he's got Anger in the sideboard.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
I mean, he had to make room for that Glimmer Genius, Patrick.
Dude, what I want to know is how you don't have room for even a single Logic Knot.
Okay, here's what I want to know. He's got 1 Wormcoil Engine and 1 Young Pyromancer, which are atypical for the main deck of this strategy, right? They're not, nobody plays them, but they're atypical. But
I would guess Nassif has them. If I sat down against Nassif and he opened on Blue Moon, I would assume that he has a Wormcoil and a Young Pyromancer. The only question is if he's got like a Batterskull or a Vidalcan Shackles in there. You know, like maybe a Torrential Gearhulk, or this is Nassif. He might have a Maloku or something.
Yeah, I'm not putting him on Wormcoil Engine main deck. I'm not putting him on Young Pyromancer main deck. I mean, access to one or both, maybe. The thing that I'm really scratching my head on is no clicks main deck, 1 click in the sideboard. That is super atypical, I think, for this strategy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I play the clicks, but that's because I want to put my Platinum Imperium on the bottom.
Yeah, and speaking of which, right, there's no secondary combo in this, or I don't know, first combo. There's no Empyrean, there's no Kiki Jiki combo, like nothing like that in the 75. This is just, you're going to win with hitting them with a 6/6 or bust, right? Like there's no...
No, you're going to Jace run them out every time. That's the real thing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, I believe you if you think that Jace is going to be the way to win with this deck. I guess maybe it is because then he uses the Glimmer.
Of course it is.
As the engine.
No, not the Glimmer. There's 1 Glimmer. Jace is also the engine.
Man, Jace is working so hard.
Dude, you put down the Blood Moon and then you bounce the thing, and you're like, oh.
And then they're in just lockdown. And then you've got like a Cryptic Command for if they miracle out of it.
Dude, so what do you think about Craig Wesco's white-blue aggro deck, I guess Death and Taxes, as the kids call it these days?
So the blue...
Mostly guys to Saint Traft and Spell Queller.
Well, he's also got Serum Visions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got Serum Visions, and then he's got in the sideboard a little bit of Reflector Mage, but no permission.
Yeah, so this has a similar to a Death and Taxes sort of shell, right? He's got...
Definitely, with Thalia and Arbiter.
And other Thalia, right? He's got 4 Thalia Guardian and Thraben to mess with spells. He's got 1 Thalia Heretic Cathar. And he's got the Aether Vial package, obviously. He's got... His Resto Angels are not that much value, right? He's only got Selfless Spirit times 3. I'm sorry, guys. Well, no, what am I saying? Spell Queller times 4 is.
There's a little bit though. Like Restoration Angel always has like a little bit of value going. You know, like when they bolt your Mirroring Crusader, and you're like, ah.
It's not like flashing a Thragtusk. I mean, you remember flashing a Thragtusk with your Restoration Angel? Your opponent was just like, well, guess I can go home now, right? Like. It's just a pretty good card in this deck.
I guess. It's like an okay card.
Yeah, it's not... So, I mean, look. The Geist of St. Traft part of this deck, it's not like in Jeskai. You know, in Jeskai, you put down a Geist of St. Traft. It's very difficult for your opponents to interact with, like, on that turn. And you've just got a ton of things that start with the word lightning or, you know, have 4 Pad to Exile, so you just clear the way. Craig has only got Pad to Exile and I guess arguably Honor the Pure to get it through, right? Like there's not...
No, Restoration Angel, man. You just attack. When they block, you blink it, and you repeat next turn.
So they just take 4? I mean, I don't know. Like you didn't even trade with their guy. The guy's still there.
Yeah, man.
Like
nothing easy.
No, I mean this is he dialed up the difficulty mode on this one. Hiring? Every business needs great people, and a better way to find them. Something better than posting your job online and just praying for the right people to see it. ZipRecruiter knew there was a smarter way, so they built a platform that finds the right candidates for you. ZipRecruiter learns what you're looking for, identifies people with the right experience, and invites them to apply to your job. In fact, 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. The right candidates are out there. ZipRecruiter is how you find them. Businesses of all sizes trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. Right now, our listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/top-level. That's ZipRecruiter.com/top-level. ZipRecruiter.com/top-level. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Dude, what do you think of not having the 3/1 flyer that they always have?
Flicker Wisp?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had to make room for Geist Sage Champions. Serum Visions makes no sense in this deck to me.
Yes, it does. No, that's actually not even that strange for Craig. So Craig's been doing this for years. First of all, Craig's, even though he's well known for playing white, he says that he likes the good blue cards. And he says Serum Visions is a card. He understands Serum Visions. That's just a really, really good card. And I think the reason he has always played – see, he does this a lot. Whenever he plays blue in these kind of decks, he always surprises people by playing 4 Serum Visions because he thinks the Serum Visions is just a messed up magic card. And he's right. But the part of it is that he doesn't like any of the 1-drops. And he says you can't just play 4 Aether Vials. So, like, what are you going to do? You might as well play Serum Visions.
It'll dig you to your Thalia Guardian of Thraben, maybe.
Well, yeah, and it helps fix his mana. You see, like, even though he's got just, ostensibly easy color requirements, it's not like he wants to be playing even more duels or anything. Like, getting blue is only part of the equation. He still needs to get double white. He also wants to hit his land drops. This is a deck that has 3 and 4 drops and doesn't want to flood out. Serum Visions is just like the best of both worlds. I like the Serum Visions in this deck. I think I might cut all of the other cards, except maybe like one island, but like I like the Serum Visions.
Let's talk about the island for a second. I think this mana base this is a head scratcher for me. 4 Hallowed Fountain, 4 Ghost Quarter, an island, 3 Adakar Waste, 4 Horizon Canopy, and 1 Field of Ruin are the cards that I'm scratching my head on.
No. Okay, so even though there's no Flooded Strand, it makes sense that there wouldn't be a Flooded Strand because he's playing a 4 Leonin Arbiter deck, right? Now you might be asking, why is there an island? Well, because the format is full of blood moons. Like, there's blood moons, as we've seen.
And paths.
And he's a deck with 4 paths, 4 Ghost Quarters, and a Field of Ruin. He's got 9 outs to the island in addition to just drawing it. The island makes total sense here.
What do you think about the card that Craig previewed with us last year, which was Aven Mind Sensor? Like, isn't a deck with like Aven Mind Sensor, 4 Leonin Arbiter, 4th Path to Exile, 4 Ghost Quarter, and plus Field of Ruin? Isn't that guy seems awesome in that shell?
Aven Mind Sensor?
Yeah.
Yeah, you only got room for so many 3s. Grixis ain't Treff, baby. Mirran Crusader.
Spellqueller.
Spellqueller is definitely the best. I'm just saying that, like, in addition to the Spellquellers.
Fair enough.
The 1 Thalia Heretic Athar I'm only medium on, but I guess it's okay.
I'm just saying he's got so much of the stuff that makes sense for it all to come together.
I guess. I don't know. I've never been as big on the Mind Sensor as most people, though.
Yeah, I'm just saying in a deck that's already got Leonin Arbiter and Pad to Exile and Field of Ruin and Ghost.
Well, Leonin Arbiter is different than the Mind Sensor. Leonin Arbiter is like a Mind Sensor who gets the job done.
No, I'm just saying they're like redundantly buddies, right? Like everybody's coming together to make a situation where the opponent is having a hard time.
I'm just saying that this metagame is a very Jund and Jace heavy metagame, and I don't know that the Mind Sensor is the one you want in spots like that.
I would have never known it was a Jund heavy metagame. We haven't talked about a single Jund deck yet.
So, what's your pick of the Jund decks?
I mean, I'm just gonna go Reed Duke.
Yeah, what is it about Reed's list? I mean, he's always so blood. He's always Liliana heavy. That's the way he rolls. But
it's got that word Reed Duke next to it. Bump. Now, it's the philosophy of the Jund that I like a lot, which is like compacting so much card advantage into a bunch of individual cards, right? He's got Liliana the Veil, Liliana the Last Hope, Dark Confidant, Scavenging Ooze, Bloodbraid Elf, Kolaghan's Command. Like, that's like all those cards are worth more than one card. And so when you start lacing them together, right, like Kolaghan's Command plus Bloodbraid Elf is, it's really profound, right? Like, you go second turn, Dark Confidant, draw a card, they kill it or something. You Kolaghan's Command, get it back. You're already up a card, now you're up 2 cards, you play it, right? Like, it just compounds all these advantages. And I really like the interplay between Scavenging Ooze and Dark Confidant, right? Like, all right, I'm killing myself, but I have so much opportunity to gain life back because I also have all these cheap cards that I'm getting with Dark Confidant, Lightning Bolt, Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek that are allowing me to put cards in the opponent's graveyard for such a small amount of mana, and then I can use my Scavenging Ooze to get life back. It's all coming together, like compounding advantages.
So what do you think of the Huntmaster of the Fells in the sideboard instead of like the Thrun the Last Troll that people like Marcio and Separito used?
Well, I think the cards have just such different, even though they're similar casting costs, but they have like such different targets that they're aiming at. One of the things I think that is a potential disadvantage of this version of Jund is this like really kind of a weak broadside to burn decks, I think. Like Maelstrom Pulse is very weak to burn. The threes in general are fairly weak to burn. Dark Confidant, I mean, obviously Scavenging Ooze is great, but there's a ton of cards that are real weak. So I think maybe if he just wanted another card similar to Kitchen Finks, because he's got a Kitchen Finks also, and Collective Brutality to maybe shore up kind of the life side. Throwing the Last Troll doesn't do that. Throwing the Last Troll is like a 4/4 for 4 that you tap out for it, you might just die. Like, Huntmaster of the Fells is even also wider, right? So if the opponent has multiple 2x creatures, it can defend you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I like about Thrun is the prevalence of Liliana of the Veil, Like, it's just hard to get into Thrun when Liliana of the Veil is just so rampant.
And, the counter argument there is Huntmaster of the Fells is straight defense against Liliana of the Veil.
Right.
Like, if you've got, like, a bunch of good creatures, you're always going to have a little garbage.
And speaking of Liliana of the Veil, why did Corey not play Liliana of the Veil? Dude, I mean, So Corey's playing, obviously the Corey deck, the same deck he always plays. And the way he's got it tuned up, he's got, 1 Jace, 2 Search split. I'm still kind of a little surprised at 1 P and Kieran Noir, 2 Tassiger, with just the 1 Jace. And, of course, he's, as always, has 4 Kolaghan's Command, 4 Crypt Command. I mean, it's Corey, always. 4 Thought Scour with no Serum Visions and no Opt. It's kind of interesting. And then 1 Terminate, 1 Counter Squall, 1 Dreadbore, 1 Inquisition, 1 Spell Snare. Sure. But no Lilianas of either type anywhere? That's so hard for me to get into.
I mean, this is just such a different deck, right? I think I echo your sentiment on the 1 Pia and Kieran Nalaar and 2 Tazigers with only 1 copy of Jace the Mind Sculptor. But I think that the 4 Thought Scours with no Ops and no Serum Visions, when I say makes sense, I mean contextually makes sense if you're playing a Taziger deck, right? Like, that, I think, all right, putting cards in the graveyard is kind of what I want to do.
I guess. Just two Fatal Push?
Yeah, but he's got Lightning Bolt. He's got Terminate. He's got Logic Knot. I mean, also, Thoughtscour Logic Knot is semi-combination. Oh, along with Surge for Iskanta. It's weird because this deck is obviously so focused. It's not just 4 Kolaghan's Command, 4 Cryptic Command. It's 4 Kolaghan's Command, 4 Cryptic Command, 4 Snapcaster Mage, 4 Thoughtscour, right? Like, those 4 ofs really, I think, tell you what this deck is about. Like, he's even flipping his commands with the Thoughtscours to enable the Snapcaster Mages, I think. Like, if you go back and look at some of the other blue decks we looked at, like, some of them don't even have 4 Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah.
But Corey's deck is obviously moving in a very focused direction. It's just all his other stuff that's not that core seems scattered, right? And
well, yeah, I don't even mind all that part. I'm just saying, like, dude, it's just, I don't know. I just feel like this is a pretty good time for Liliana. That's it.
I mean, I think that it's a great time for Liliana, especially in multiples, if you're going to play multiple copies of Jace the Mind Sculptor. But again, that's just a different deck. You know, like, his deck is, I think, based on advantage-bearing instance, rather than being based on, generating positional advantage on the battlefield. Or, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, because he's got Tasigur and Pia and Kieran Nalar. Those cards kind of only... Pia and Kieran Nalar, I can't get my head around, actually. That card just makes no sense to me, given the other options you can play. It costs the same amount as Jace the Mind Sculptor.
It does block better. It's better against other people's Liliana of the Veil. Not really.
Yeah?
No, I'd rather just have Jace. But that's me. So not a lot of twists and turns out of the Black Red Hollow One decks. Brock Parker did play 1 Tasigur main in addition to 3 Gurmag Anglers. I guess that's something. But this is fairly straightforward. What about Lars Dam's Grixis deck? With main deck Direfleet Daredevil, 4 Ancestral Visions, 3 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 2 Liliana the Veil, and 2 Search for Iskanta, 0 Cryptic Command.
Yeah, this deck is very different. The Direfleet Daredevils in the main deck are daring.
Snapcasters 5 and 6?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's a good reason not to have them, right? Because they kind of Snapcasters 5 and 6. I think that probably punishing in the wrong matchups, but those matchups, like what? Humans? You know, they're probably going to be load bearing 2 1s for 2. Have a lot good going for them. I mean, 3 lightning bolts. I don't know about that one.
Dude, can you you can't just Daredevil somebody else's Ancestral Vision, can you? I assume you can't. Well,
let's read the card. When Direfleet Daredevil enters the battlefield, exile target instant or sorcery card from an opponent's graveyard. You may cast that card this turn. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast that spell. If that card will be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. I kind of don't see why not.
Because it doesn't have a cost. There's no way. There's no way.
All right.
Anyway.
No? Its cost isn't 0. It just has no cost?
Yeah. Dude, who knows? Rules are hard.
No one knows the answer to this.
Yep. When is Angrath going to start showing up in Modern?
In Modern? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think somebody has to... It's a big ask. That's a lot of land tapping you're asking for a Planeswalker.
Yeah, I know.
He costs a more than a Jace the Mind Sculptor and has 1 fewer ability.
Yeah. I mean, you can only play so many Jaces.
I know, at this point, you can play like a good 16 Jaces, can't you?
Way more than that. Way more. It's not Modern, but just on the topic of Jace, did you happen to see Jim Davis's Miracles deck from the Legacy Open, top 8 of the Legacy Open. Jace the Mind Sculptor, Rich. This is a blue-white Miracles deck, despite the lack of tops. Just playing with Ponders and Portents and Predicts and Brainstorms, and just getting there with his 3 Terminus Miracle package.
Yeah, I think it's funny that they call it Miracles. And all it's got is 3 Terminus, right? It's not that miraculous.
Yeah. Mostly it's just miraculous how often you correctly predict. You're like, Jace, put it back. What do you know? I was right again.
I mean, he's got Portent. I mean, we've been messing around with that kind of like foreshadowing stuff since Mervis.
It was foreshadow. Yeah, since it was foreshadow.
So was Brainstorm and Foreshadow together? No, right? What was it that was helping Foreshadow back then?
Well, I mean, you could use Brainstorm when Ice Age was. Brainstorm came out first, and then Foreshadow came in Visions. So it depends on if what format you're playing, but Portent, Ponder, not Ponder. Ponder came much later, but the original Foreshadow technology was actually Portent, just because it was just a little more versatile when you didn't have any other shufflers besides Portent than Brainstorm.
Oh, it's also a slow trip, right? So.
Yep.
All right, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this deck is, I think, largely super good because of Back to Basics, right? His deck's got only 1 Tundra, right, along with a ton of Scalding Tarns, Windswept Heaths, Misty Rain Forests, and Flooded Strands. So his land base is like literally just 9 basics, 1 Tundra, and the rest fetches. And then if he gets Back to Basics down, he can basically operate at 100% efficiency, while his opponent basically probably can't. I think that's probably like tons of free wins from the Back to Basics.
Yeah, I think Back to Basics is definitely an interesting one to keep an eye on, because it doesn't catch people nearly as often as Blood Moon, but it also easier to fly under the radar. What do you think of this take on Elves, by the way? Ben Feingersh, same event, top 8'd with an Elf deck featuring the 1 crop rotation, so that's a little interesting, and then just 3 natural orders, and then a sideboard package that includes the discard, like Cabal Therapy type stuff that people usually play, and Abrupt Decay, but then also a couple of copies of Blood Moon to switch it on them.
Well, so it's not just, I think, the Blood Moon, but with the crop rotation, I guess presumably in game 1, can get you the Gaia's Cradle, right? So you're going,
or Cavernous Souls.
Okay, to get you the 1 Cavernous Souls. But I think that like you're willing to go down a card with the crop rotation in this deck, and you're getting basically paid back with more than 1 land worth of value if you're getting the Gaia's Cradle, or if you get the Cavernous Souls, you're neutralizing a bunch of counter spells in the opponent's hand, so that might be okay. In sideboarded games, the crop rotation can get you the Taiga to help you cast Blood Moon, right? Or, yep. I think very importantly, it gets you the Caracas. So, like, imagine you're playing against Sneak and Show, and you're an Elf deck, and you're just like, all right, Caracas. Like, you can really put the hurt on a deck that is spending all of its resources to get an Emrakul or a Grizzlebrand in play, right? You're like, oh, Emrakul. You're like, ooh, back to grip.
Yep.
You can bounce it before he gets to attack you, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's a powerful dimension that crop rotation brings to, an Elf creature deck. I mean, not that this deck is any kind of a slouch, right? Like, this deck can easily combo kill you with just a critical mass of Elves plus Craterhoof Behemoth in the first couple of turns, right?
Yeah.
Plus, he's got like a mana engine version. He's got, he could probably, I guess he's not much of a value version. I
mean, he's got the usual, Elvish Visionary Quirion Ranger combo. Being able like Elvish Visionary is with Wirewood Symbiote. Elvish Visionary with Wirewood Symbiote is like at least something,
Sure. You know what I always loved about the Elf deck in other formats was this: how difficult it was to get mana screwed, right? Like if you just had like one land, you could just operate fine, probably.
Yeah, but that's still true here.
Yeah, I like it. Do you think there'd be like anything that you might want to play here that would improve any of the individual elves' chances in combat, or that's just not a direction we want to go in?
Yeah, I think you can't fight that battle.
These guys all suck at combat.
Yeah, he's not close. This isn't like the modern ones with all the Azuris or whatever.
Yeah, respect. He's just kind of combo. Either he's critical mass or combo or nothing, right? Like that's the way to go.
Yep. Were there any other? While we're over here at the Legacy Open, any of the other ones really jump out at you? Obviously the champ Drake Sasser's Grixis Delver deck. Delver was by far the deck of the tournament. Right now, it looked like Grixis Delver was basically 3 times as popular as the second most popular strategy. And not a lot fancy, just a mix of like Young Pyromancer, Deathrite Shaman, Delver of Secrets, Gurmag Angler, lots of cantrips, everything from Gitaxian Probe, Brainstorm, Ponder, with just with Force of Will, Daze, and Spell Pierce for interaction.
So what do you think?
Plus, of course, for Wasteland.
What do you think makes Delver so? Well, not just Delver, Grixis Delver currently so popular in Legacy versus of all the decks people could be playing. This isn't really like one of the most high-powered decks, for example, right? It's like a pretty medium-powered deck, but it's overwhelmingly popular, like you said. It's
just mana efficiency. I think it's the trifecta of Deathrite Shaman, Lightning Bolt, and Brainstorm.
Yeah, Deathrite Shaman. There was a time when Delver decks didn't even play Deathrite Shaman, right?
Yep. Yeah. But they've come around. Cabal Therapy plus Young Pyromancer is also kind of hot, but he's only playing the Therapy package out of the board.
And only 2 copies.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I got nothing but good things to say about Therapy. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I also am a big respecter of Cabal Therapy. Do you love True Name Nemesis here? This makes tons of sense to you?
It's okay. You want to have some amount of win the game against people playing fair. And that's one of the things that True Name Nemesis does. Is that it can be like a way to win that way. What do you think of the use of 0 Fatal Push? It's kind of interesting.
Well, he's got 4 Lightning Bolts and a Forked Bolt and a Spell Pierce. And he's got, of course, Force of Will, Daze, 4 and 4 of each of those. So I think it seems weird because those are permission spells instead of a focused removal spell like Fatal Push. But in terms of early game interaction, I think he's kind of covered. And the kinds of creatures that he would fall behind with his configuration, Fatal Push is not necessarily going to dig him out of that problem.
Now, what do you think of the use of 0 Stifles, unlike, for instance, Jeffrey White's Delver list playing with a couple of copies main deck?
It's just a different direction, right? Like I like Stifle a lot, right? But if Stifle Wasteland combo package is really, really strong. But
they're both playing 4 Wastelands, of course.
Yeah, it's just a different direction.
It's two random Stifles though. It's not even like almost every card in his deck is the exact same, right? Like he just cut a Young Pyromancer and a Gitaxian Probe for two Stifles.
Personally, I like the Stifles.
Personally, I like the Gitaxian Probe.
Yeah. Maybe we cut some True Name Nemesis.
Dude, when are the people in Legacy going to find out about Manamorphose?
Oh, that's a good question. People
They
don't even play Eidolon of the Great Revel in that format very much.
And why would they? They got to cycle their own Manamorphose. They don't want to be taking that kind of damage.
Well,
yeah, I don't know, man. I still like that that Legacy is just this format where people play Marsh Casualties in their 4-color decks. You know what I mean? It's just they do it.
Yeah,
and,
I think when I play Legacy, I think like, hey, there's so much that can be done in this format, and it could be Emrakuls, it can be super fast, like turn 2 super fast combo decks. It can be overwhelming amounts of material, and sure, I come to the conclusion that Lava Spike is the right thing to do, right? But I figure other people would have more extravagant conclusions than playing just like medium creature decks. But I guess the super efficiency of Deathrite Shaman, Lightning Bolt, and Delver Secrets itself is something special. That's not a regular Magic card.
I guess. Delver has always gotten a disproportionate amount of credit in my book. You want to see?
Where do you think that credit was supposed to have gone?
Ponder,
Brainstorm,
Snapcaster Mage. No, I'm talking about even like in Standard. I always thought that Delver of Secrets got a lot more credit than it would have if it weren't just around during a time in which there were all these cantrips. If you want an innovative deck, dude, here's a hot take on Grixis. Jake Farrer's Grixis Tezzeret deck. 4 Tezzeret Agent of Bolas, 3 Dak Faden, 1 Duretti Ingenious Iconoclast, and then not only does he sit around with Chalice of the Void, Ensnaring Bridge, all that, he's got Thopter Sword that he can tutor up with Transmute Artifacts. You sack the Sword of the Meek to go get a Thopter Foundry. How hot is that? And then he's got Force of Will to protect the whole thing. The classic Force of Will and Snaring Bridge combo.
How many blue cards does he even have? Baleful Strix is 4. Dak Faden is 7.
Tezzeret 11. 3 Thopter Foundries is 14.
And then 3 other.
4 Force of Wills is 18. 2 Transmute Artifact is 20. 20 is pretty good by Legacy standards.
That's okay. Yeah,
in Legacy, they usually play like 16 or whatever.
He's cheating by having artifacts that are blue.
Yep, making it work though.
Talking you got a lot of obedience in the sideboard.
Well, that combos with these 4 Leyline of the Voids. You see, not only does he have Leyline of the Void for the graveyard hate, if you have Leyline of the Void in play, and then you Helm of Obedience, you run him out of cards on the spot.
Oh, so this is like a single shot instant kill if he's got it. Or, and keep in mind he can dig to it with like Transmute Artifact to go get the Helm of Obedience. Yeah, also I suppose if the opponent has like Rest in Peace, right? Like there are a fair number of decks that play Rest in Peace, he can just kind of piggyback off of their Rest in Peace.
Yeah, because I think there's going to be a fair number of people who bring in Rest in Peace in order to beat the Thopter Sword combo.
Yep.
And then you hit him with the Helm of Obedience and switch it on him. Padim, Council of Innovation. See? Told you this was an innovative deck.
By definition.
And then the classic 1-2 punch. Chains of Mephistopheles into The Abyss.
It's like it's 1996 all over again.
1996? It's like 1994.
I wouldn't know. I didn't know about tournaments in 1994.
By the time 96 rolled around, that stuff wasn't even legal.
It was legal in Vintage, or whatever they call it.
It was in Type 1? Yeah.
All of my initial stuff that I learned about was reading about Type 1. I only had cards for Type 2, and a lot of the stuff that was written back then was like, Type 2 is not a strategic format.
Dude, I don't know. I read this sick strategy post about Circle of Protection White and Acacian Money Changer.
Oh, tell me more. Was there perhaps also Circular Protection Red in that deck for Orcish artillery?
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like a genius wrote that. Perhaps the resident genius?
Oh, man. Strategy writing was weird the year before the dojo.
I think on that note.
Yeah.
Awesome results. My favorite deck, bar none, Raptor's Manamorphose burn deck. I think that this is a weekend that had some decks, had some big tournaments. We have those many weekends of one of those tournaments. Deck did not win the tournament, but will draw a line in the sand, and the world has changed. Raptor changed the world this weekend. That's what I think.
Dude, I'm surprised you're not on Don Vu's burn deck. He just played he top 32'd with your modern burn deck. I mean, I guess he had, Fire Blast and Price of Progress and Chain Lightning. But, Raptor's deck's cooler. That's true.
I think he just changed the world, man. How you gonna, what?
I can't wait until Raptor has, 4 Leyline of the Void in his burn deck sideboard. And then, occasionally backup plans it with Manamorphose. And you're just like, Raptor, what are you doing? And, if they don't see it coming, they won't, I have no idea, dude. I think this deck is sick.
19 lands, 1 Sulfuric Vortex main deck. I don't know if I get behind that. I played 20 lands and no Sulfuric Vortex in the main deck. But I still love him. Don Vu, he's my brother. He's my burn brother.
Well, all in all, a pretty good weekend for the burn players, but not as good as it would have been if Raptor would have won.
Well, very good weekend for the Boggles players. A+ to the first.
Always good for the Boggles players. All right, Budikoff, nice work. And thanks, everybody, for joining us week in and week out and sharing us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and, of course, Patreon.
Yep. Thanks to Sean O'Brien.
Thank you, Sean.
Yep. Thanks
for props.
Thanks for sharing us everywhere. Thanks for listening. Subscribe, iTunes, YouTube, follow, all of it. We love you.
Or don't. We still love you. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Life didn't work so great. Tried to play dredge, it's a jailer hate. Ghostly prison waiting for my untapped phase. Your core trapped in amber state.